everybody. Welcome to another episode of High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg. This is where we talk about real business, real life, and real situations. The key to being successful in this business, in any business, is to understand, I think, the journey that you're on. And we all know as entrepreneurs, the journey can take many turns. You can bring on partners, you can get rid of partners, you can build businesses, deconstruct businesses, all the above. And I think a lot of us, when we're building businesses, we're so focused on getting to maybe the end result that sometimes we forget that part of what we're doing is the actual journey and who you're doing the journey with, what you're learning along the way, the people that you're helping along the journey, and then finally what it is that you build in the end. And I think a lot of times when people are doing this journey, I think we can become selfish people as entrepreneurs because we get so focused and we get so tunnel vision and how we're trying to build our business that we just push other people away. We push people away and we're so focused and driven on getting to that end result because, I mean, let's face it, as entrepreneurs, that's kind of our report card. That's what we want to do. We want to get that end result. And so sometimes once we get to that end result, that's when we maybe go back to friends, family, loved ones. And then we say, hey, look what I did. And sometimes they're gone because you've been gone for 20 years. So the guests I have today are very good personal friends of mine, and they are a husband and wife, and they own, I believe it's 5 companies that they do together simultaneously with each other. And so I'd like to, kind of talk to them, get an understanding of how it is that they've been able to be so successful in multiple markets and multiple industries to do what they're doing kind of on the journey, I guess you would say. So Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkel, good friends of mine, guys, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us, Steve.
Yeah, it's an honor. So thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So first of all, how long have you been married for, first of all?
So we have been married 22 years.
No,
No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I was joking.
That was an odd silence, I have to say.
It was a joke, and we've been married for 18 years. It seems like
so you know how the traditional
years.
roles are like the husband and wife. Like you just flip flop that with us. So yeah,
Got it.
We've been dating for 25 years and
Yes.
married.
It seems like
years.
forever. It's been great though.
Perfect start.
This is starting off on a great start.
This is answering a lot of things. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So 2 decades, we'll say you guys have been together, dating, married, and all that stuff.
Yes.
So you guys are originally from New Mexico, right?
Born and raised. Yeah, we're from the same small town of Santa Fe, and we're high school sweethearts. So we met in high school, and then we grew up together. We built everything together, and it's been always, the Shawn and Joni, or people will flip flop our names or combine them, call us Shoni and John, is where we get a lot, but because they associate the two of us always together, never like apart, but.
So I guess the first question, and I ask people all the time, was this the plan? Was building all these businesses when you guys were young and thought this is how your life would go? Is this how you guys had envisioned it?
No, not exactly. So I'll kind of take it back a little bit. So at 19, I think we saw a real estate infomercial. It was, I think, Russ Whitney at the time. And so we thought, hey, we kind of had an interest in real estate. So Shawn was like, hey, let's go to this 3-day boot camp. And so we decided, okay, let's go check it out. So we went there for the 3-day boot camp and just really fell in love with real estate. And we decided, we're going to buy all these boot camps. So Shawn actually had, he went on a scholarship to the University of New Mexico. And so his parents had set aside some money for him. So we used all of his money to buy boot camps.
The college money you guys used?
Yeah,
right.
All of it.
Wow.
So his mom wasn't happy. And so we started, wholesaling houses through college. That's kind of what got us through college, and we had fun doing it, and we were rehabbing properties. We would go to school during the day, and then like on our lunch breaks or after school, we'd go check on our job sites, and we just kept doing that, and just fell into real estate.
I would say I always had a strong vision. I'm I guess you call it daydreamer, but I always visioned, and the problem was I always visioned that I would be into my visions a lot sooner than it took me. It always took twice as long, to get there. But I think we always visioned eventually growing, not necessarily some of the other brands that we have, but we always envisioned that we'd be successful in real estate. First it was like, okay, we're doing one house consistently a month. Then we visioned doing 2, then 3, and then 5, and then 10. I think the most we ever did in 1 year was like 160 homes in 1 year. But we always had a vision for building it and building a team. It just always took a lot longer. We're like the turtles, like on this entrepreneurial wheel, because it's we never did anything fast, and we're never, but we've always been very consistent and never given up. And so I think that's the big takeaway is that from us is that we're fighters. We just constantly every day get up and just keep battling every day. We don't have huge home runs, but we have consistent base hits, and we just consistently will get to wherever we're our vision. And luckily, Joni and I have been aligned for many years. We always had the same goals, or we always could get on the same path, and so we always worked towards the same thing well together. And so that's always been a help too. We weren't going separate directions, or it always helped that we were working towards the same thing. So.
And both very driven. So starting off at a young age, we didn't know how to fail. I mean, we had nothing to lose. So, we would fail at something and we would just get back up and keep going, right? Where I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they fail at something and then they say, oh, like it's not working for me. So then they quit.
Yeah. Well, you had Shawn's college money to lose. I was other than that,
well, that all went to the seminar people. So they were good at they were good speakers.
Yeah, we spent all of his college money on boot camp, so we ended up having to buy our first property on a credit card. So
really, that's pretty. That's inspiring, though. I mean, I always hear an overnight success is 15 years in the making, and I think that as well as I do. We've been around long enough that you see these people that are getting these home runs, and they're not even playing a game. They're not even in reality or real. I mean, I think, we all know each other that, slow and steady wins the race. And when you look at the ones that are slow and steady, it's not the loud, I mean, yes, there are successful people that are that way, but the reality is the ones that are very successful, like you guys, they're the quiet ones. They're the ones you don't hear from. They're the ones who just sit there and, they take notes, they listen, and they go back and they revise, revamp, and review and tweak. So how does somebody go from flipping houses and wholesaling and stuff in college to owning multiple businesses in multiple states, doing different things? How does that work for someone?
I think it did start. It didn't start off like that. So it's, like, I think like anything, and like you just mentioned, it takes years, and especially in the age we live in today and the social media, I think people just want instantaneous, and it doesn't happen. That's fairy tale land. So it started off with building first a real estate business, which is a flipping business. And we just saw needs or opportunities to pivot or add on to what we were currently doing. So the next step after flipping homes for so many years was we saw the need, like, hey, other people want to buy these rental properties. Other people want to build a portfolio themselves, but they don't want to find the properties. They don't want to rehab them. They don't want to manage them. Why don't we offer a solution of all these houses we're buying? Why don't we put tenants in them and sell them as an investment property to people nationwide and even international? And so we saw that opportunity. And so that's in 2010. We just pivoted from, rather than listing everything on MLS, which Joni's a broker, and selling them and selling them to a homeowner, let's sell them to an investor, and then let's keep the management on it and build a residual. Because, when you're flipping houses, it's awesome, and you flip it, you make some money. Sometimes you don't, but at least you have to repeat it. Where we wanted to build things that would, once we build it once, we would get residuals off of it for many years. So we wanted to look for other businesses that we could do that. And so management companies was a way to do that. So we said, why don't we start rehabbing these houses, renting them, and then putting a tenant in them, and then managing them and sell them to an investor and start our management company. So the next business was a management company. And so we grew that. And in 2015,
Right. We got really good at that by, creating our processes and our procedures for our management company, getting that really, really dialed in. Or an opportunity came across where we could purchase a property management company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we're like, well, this is perfect because, we obviously knew that market real well. And we could pretty much do what we were doing here in Texas and New Mexico. And so having our team and our processes and procedures allowed us to be able to open that market up and
and our clients were looking for ways to diversify. So they wanted to buy more houses. They just didn't want to buy more houses just in Houston. They wanted to go to another market. So we're like, this is a perfect opportunity. I could buy another management company. So I could start off with revenue right away. I could offer another market to my same clients. If they're happy with working with us, why not? Now they can buy in Albuquerque and Houston. And so that's why I think it's not like we saw all that. It's just there were opportunities that arose that we were prepared for. We understood, and it was a bolt on to what we were currently already doing. And I think that's how we started with the first 3 companies. We're just looking for bolt-ons to our current business.
So it basically, you guys were filling a need, maybe even your need, but you were filling a need that was in the market, solving a problem essentially, and solving that problem created another essential revenue stream to keep compounding further, right?
Correct. Yeah, and then it just kept growing, and in 2 years ago, right in the middle of COVID, because of our management companies are franchises, and we had been successful in that model and been successful in another market. We were approached by the franchisor to, hey, our flagship company is plumbing, and we own a plumbing franchise that we have 0 market presence in New Mexico, and we think you guys would be a great candidate to open a plumbing company there. We saw the need, like, hey, we're already doing $250,000 in plumbing revenue from our management company. Well, I immediately got revenue to at least start the company and keep it in afloat. So again, it was just there was an opportunity. We saw the need. We could use our same office space and warehouse space to do it. So it was kind of a low startup, and it made a lot of sense. It's harder than we thought it was, but it made a lot of sense. And that's, again, it was just adding another revenue stream to what we were currently already doing and growing it. Same thing with the VA company.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point too. I think as entrepreneurs, you kind of sometimes you get distracted, right, with new opportunities that come across and out of focus because have this new thing going on. And so our whole thing was like, what can we do that could kind of be like an add-on to our current business, right? So we can still focus on our core business, but just add on to it. And so that was a way for us to be able to add these businesses and still kind of be in the same arena of what we were currently doing.
Yeah, and the same thing with the VA company. That was just an opportunity that said, hey, there was this opportunity to buy a VA company. We were already heavily using VAs in our current business structure. And so we just thought it was another opportunity to, well, rather than us buying these VAs from other companies, why don't we start our own entity and bring our VAs in under our own roof? Again, our businesses are paying for enough VAs to support the startup on this business. And then we can start selling them to other, show other people how they could use VAs as well as we were. And what we did and what we saw was the opportunity, again, and a need within the franchise space. We saw that there was a huge void, that they weren't teaching people to use virtual assistants within the franchising model. And so again, it allowed us to find a niche, find a market that wasn't being utilized or served, and we could serve that client with this VA business.
And truly, that's really how we were able to grow and scale multiple businesses, is through virtual assistants, because Steve, as well as I do, that property management is a low margin business. So in order for us to keep our costs down, right? And so that's how we were able to grow and scale these businesses. So we're just essentially showing other franchises, other businesses how to do the same to be more profitable.
And your guys' VA model is it's a little different because you guys go to Mexico to get them, and there's a same time zone, and there's a lot of consistency with our market and theirs, and so it's a little different. It's a much more successful model, as I know.
Right.
Let me ask you this though. So when you guys have all these companies, And I think this is important for people watching. Uh, how do you guys stay grounded not to get a shiny object and say, hey, you know what, we're starting a dry cleaning company because everyone who lives in rentals needs to dry clean their clothes, so we should probably do that, or car wash company? Because I would imagine that you probably get opportunities that present themselves. And when you're successful, people want to tie up with you and want you to be a part of something. How do you guys stay grounded to say no to opportunities and yes to certain ones?
I mean, we've kind of learned the hard way by saying yes a whole lot and then decide, okay, like now we got to try to get ourselves out of this, right? But now we, you know, anytime an opportunity comes across, if it doesn't fit what we're currently doing, then, you know, we just have to say no to the opportunity, and that's okay, right?
And they're good. Don't get me wrong. They're like, this year alone, we've had the opportunity to buy 2 companies, and we said no to both of them. They were both very good opportunities. We're still vetting them, but one would be expanding into another market, and then one would be growing our market here. But it was just wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right. You know, Joni and I are trying to simplify our lives. Growing and doing all that is not going to accomplish that. So anymore today, you know, unless it's going to simplify our lives or do, those are the decisions we're personally making for ourselves. But I think if you had asked us 5 years ago, yeah, we were looking to expand and grow. But I think more than anything, it comes down to your team.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a very, very great team and leadership team that really has helped us accomplish all this. Without them, you know, Joni and I wouldn't be able to manage, you know, all of this and manage all the multiple markets. I think it really, we have an awesome team and great people that support our companies and help us grow it, and behind our mission and behind what we're trying to grow and accomplish. And so I think that's the key to anything, is the people, which we've learned. You know, we didn't come out of the gates and get the right people. You know, it's taken years and years.
And we've also stretched our team too. So when we add on these new businesses, you know, not only are we stretching ourselves and getting ourselves out of focus when it doesn't meet like what we're currently doing, but it also gets our team out of focus, you know, because they're trying to make this other opportunity work, and, you know, which slows the growth process in our other businesses.
Sure. So let me ask you this. You mentioned earlier about, you know, trying to decomplicate your life, I guess, for lack of a better term. And you guys are both, I mean, I know you personally, you guys are both very successful, driven people. How do you guys shut it off when the lights go off at the office and you're done for the day and you go home and now you're mom and dad to the kids? How do you do that? Or is there a way to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so for us, like, you know, we don't work past 5:30. So once we go home, that's it. You know, it's, we are dedicated to when we're at work, we're working 110%. Same thing at home. When you're at home, you're focused and engaged 110% with each other and with also the kids. So our phones typically go in the bowl, you know, we have dinner together, nothing, we don't talk business together, none of that. And also the same with emails as well, because you get these distracting emails that could set you off, right? And so we don't want that to happen. And so we just have made it a point that we focus on each other when we're at home.
And it hasn't always been that way. I mean, it's something we've learned, and you know, we've made mistakes along the way. And I think there's seasons to everything. So I think there's been times when we've done an acquisition. Like I know when we bought Albuquerque and moved into that market, there were times when we were working till 11, 12 o'clock every night because, you know, checking the books and making sure everything was in order and ready for the transition from the old ownership to the new. So there's times I think that you get a little unbalanced, but I think once you overcome that, for us personally, the phones is what really is the big distraction. And so if we can eliminate the phone use at home, we can shut it off. We can turn it off and focus on the kids and focus on each other. And so we really watch our phone, you know, checking email anymore. A lot of our businesses are on social today, you know, and there's all this interaction. So we try to eliminate all that as much as possible on nights and weekends. And to us, it's like, that's our kids' time. And we only have a certain
18
period,
summers.
18 summers.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
so,
I mean, when you think of a phone, just like a computer, it's really a reactionary tool.
Mhm.
All it does is it rings, it beeps, it farts or whatever it does, and it's just you're reacting to it. It's like I got to pick it up and see who's dinging me and who's this and who's that. So you're right. I mean, I do the same thing when I get home. I put it up on the counter and I put it on do not disturb, and then I'm just done because I know myself and I know even if it's in my pocket and I feel that buzz, all I'm gonna be thinking is, I wonder who's trying to get a hold of me. Maybe it's an emergency.
that's why I don't wear an Apple
Yeah.
Watch anymore. I know you can set the settings and all that, but I always like, and then you're sitting there looking at your watch 24/7. So I just don't, we just
It's like better just not to have the temptation than try to be better than it, Let me ask you this. So husband and wife team in multiple companies, do you think that helped you? I don't want to, may sound weird. Did it hurt you or help you guys grow? Not only as a husband and wife couple, but as a business in multiple businesses. What would you say if you're giving someone advice?
So that's a great question.
Depending on the day.
And we've never been asked that in that way. And I like the way you asked it because, I would say for us, majority of the time it helped us because, obviously we were young. And even to today, Joni and I still, we rely on each other a lot. So meaning like we're each other, not only at home, but in the work atmosphere and we're each other's rock. So there's times where everybody, I think, gets down or vulnerable or, insecurities and all that. And we have a really good, she can sense that and I can sense that in her. And so we'll pick each other up, when we're both down, when we're, so we're each other's biggest fans and supporters. And I think that's really helped us push and get through things that I think would a lot of people maybe wouldn't be able to overcome. And so, I mean, we've had tons of challenges, even though we've been successful. I mean, it's not been easy and we've fallen a lot, probably more than others. That's the only reason we got here. But we've always picked each other back up. And so I think in that sense, it's been a huge help. I think learning to work with each other at times, and especially as we develop staff and people reporting to each of us, that brought on challenges, which can be, if it was just myself, it'd be just, whatever managers report to me. But sometimes when you have multiple, we really had to learn, okay, Shawn is in charge of, X and Y, or even within one business, Joni's pretty much in charge of all of the management companies. I'm involved in the back end, like accounting and the numbers and the finances, but other than that, it's her. So, and I had to learn to, as people would approach me to ask me a question, I had to say, you got to get with Joni on that. Even though I could answer the question,
sure,
I would a lot of times, and I would get in trouble. But but we had to really separate everything and really who reports to who, because that can be a challenge, and I think it can cause strife or challenges within each other.
I think that's the biggest advice that I would give was for couples that are wanting to do business together, really find your role within the company, because at the beginning it wasn't like that. And there was tons of fights, over it and arguments, but yeah, I think, finding our role, I think that was key to helping us grow in all of our businesses.
And I think one thing that I give Joni a lot of credit to is I think for all the years, for the most part, if we didn't necessarily agree, like, you hear about the CEO and the COO, the kind of sometimes their roles, but I think in the end, if we didn't necessarily 100% agree on something, I would say 90% of the time Joni would still surrender to, or not surrender, that's the wrong word.
I surrender.
She would allow me to make that final.
She would agree to say, okay, just, I get it.
And
you would hear my point of view, but at the end of the day, like if that's the decision that you made, then I'm okay with that.
And that's gone harder the more she's gone in the spotlight, and the more she's doing it, it's gotten tougher. But I've learned to also allow her to lead more over the years, and that's been our, I think, growth within our marriage later in life. But I think it's tough. It's not going to be easy.
Right. Well, it's when you think about it, when you think of a husband and wife married, right? They're basically two people are coming together that they're living together at home, but normally at work they're separate. So you kind of get your time, right?
Yeah.
And you guys don't get that time. And so you may get it in your office, when you're not working next to that, and good, bad, or indifferent. It is what it is, right?
Right.
So coming home and separating the two, I would imagine, you have to learn. It's a different rhythm. Me and my wife, myself as an airline pilot, she's used to me being gone for 3, 4, 5 days at a time. If I was home every day, I think she would stab me. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure. But you just, that's the rhythm that you're used to doing. Right. And all of a sudden, I'm sure if Joni took a position at another company, it would probably feel like half of you was gone. If all of a sudden you walked in and you're like, man, I don't see you anymore. It's like, well, we see each other the regular amount. It's just not at work. And so I can definitely see the challenges, pros and cons of everyone's position. And you're right. As people evolve, I'm sure the people you were at 19 are not the people you are today. And you're probably not going to be the people you are in 10 years and 20 years from now. So it's
Right.
that ever changing evolution. And it's like, I'm sure at some point one spouse may, and I'm not saying you guys, but one spouse may go like, I'm kind of good where we are. And the other one may be saying like, no, this is the trajectory we're on. And all of a sudden you want to make sure that you bring that back together. And as the husband and wife, it's not like, oh, just go to work and do your thing. It's like, no, we have to see each other at work also to stay concurrent with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been even today, like we'll give you a good example. Like Joni's been a lot more involved with speaking and panels and traveling to events. And yeah, I was at the point where I'm like, we don't need all that. Like, why don't we just, I just want to let's just keep building what we're doing. Let just keep, and I don't like that atmosphere it takes me a lot more energy out of me to,
Sure.
I can handle it, but I'm exhausted after that.
It's not what you like. You don't enjoy that side of the business.
Right. But that's something that she truly enjoys. So I got to learn, and this is where, again, you keep evolving, and it's like, I have to learn to allow her that. I need to support her in that. And so it's been a learning lesson for me to do that and participate in some of it, even though I don't want to, but that's also, I got to keep a marriage, so it's not just about business, it's also, and so you evolve and learn and grow there.
And figuring out how to get back to being aligned again, you know?
Yeah. Cause I'm sure a lot of it is, there's in all humans, there's ego and pride, and there's like, no, we've been doing it this way for X years. Why would we stop? And it's like, we're not stopping. We're just evolving. It's just changing. It's just one of those things. So I can see, for me owning a management company to doing what I'm doing now, and I've evolved, everyone's evolved. And so it's just like, I think we're all just going back to what I said in the beginning. It's like, we're all on a journey. The journey doesn't stop. It's not the destination. It's the actual enjoyment of the journey. And it's sometimes it's tough, So let me ask you this. What advice would you give to a husband and wife, to the Shawn and Jonis that are 19 years old, that are about to go spend their college money on a seminar, and they're about to tackle the world, and they're going to be married? Like, what advice would you give them? You guys have a very successful marriage, very successful business relationship. What would you tell them are some key things to remember?
I think the first thing would be, I think really what got us started was finding that mentor, that coach, that somebody that could hold our hand, through the process, and even through our successes and our failures, right? Our mentor, our coach was always there for us. And so that's the one thing that I would say. And then I would also say, like, just get started. I think a lot of times we psych ourselves out, or that self-doubt that we have, that, oh, I can't do this. Just get started. You got to get started somewhere. And, that's what I would.
So I agree with Joni 100%. The one thing that we didn't tell you in that beginning of that story was one of the courses, or one of the packages we bought, was a mentorship program. And I don't think without that program, we would be here today, because it was somebody that one-on-one flew to our market, spent a week with us, but then once he left, I think we did our first 10 deals with him. So I got 10 deals of hand holding. What do I do next? How do I get through this? How do I overcome this? And I think that's really what got us, the ball rolling. So, and then as far as I think beyond that is you got to be really patient. Like it's going to take a lot more work and a lot more energy and a lot more failure, and a lot longer than you think, to get there. And nobody wants to hear that, because and maybe you're smarter than I am, you'll figure it out a lot quicker. But I would say the majority of us are in that category where it's you know as well, like it took you years of trial and error and figuring out, because there's a lot of things that you as a person need to develop, your characteristics, things you need to learn that you just don't know. Obviously podcasts and reading books and all that can accelerate it, but there's still some growth that you have to do. And so, and Joni and I still have mentors and part of masterminds and programs, because we're still developing each other, and we're still, like our marriage, we do like coaching and all that. We're constantly trying to improve ourselves. So I don't think that's ever stopped. And so that's helped us evolve and overcome challenges, because we're constantly working on each other and developing each other. And luckily I have a spouse that's just as much about self-development as myself. So I think that also helps. So if you're not married yet, you might want to, check the person you're with. Cause I mean, make sure that they're on the same page. And because if they're not, I mean, now is the time to do it. And that's the struggle we have sometimes, coaching or helping. We don't do like a lot of coaching, but I mean, like giving advice to couples that are already,
they're just not on the same page.
Yeah,
they don't have the same
hard.
goals and ambitions. So
I don't know what to say in that. I mean, because luckily we've been on the same page since the get-go. So, and we've had disagreements along the way. We're not perfect, but we've always been able to align ourselves and work extremely hard towards a vision. So
I think it's, you said a lot of powerful things in there. And I think one of the main things that I got is, the person, whoever got you to where we are today, right? Whoever we are today is kind of a zero line. That's our internal thermostat, right? And so if you want to do something, you've got to change that. And so you have to change the person that you are. I mean, you could be someone who's personally a poor person, make a lot of money, but you're still poor, right? Mentally. And so you've got to understand that. And if you're not aligned with the person that you're with, your partner, same thing in business, right? I mean, if you could have a business partner, same thing, right? If you guys are not in alignment, not same expectations, I mean, I, as we all get people that, reach out and ask for help. And I had this one new, person in their 20s saying, hey, they want to get into real estate, and, short-term or rentals are just too slow for them. They need to make fast money. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And they're like, well, I think I'm going to get an Airbnb. I want to make at least $10,000 a month for it to make sense for one Airbnb. That's what I need to make, cash flow. And this, I'm thinking to myself, this guy has no freaking idea what he's doing. Like he has like no concept. And look, who am I to tell him it's not going to happen? It could. I don't know what his financial backing is or what, but I'm thinking in my mind, like, you don't understand how this game is. It's not about money. The money is the least part of success. Everyone who's successful, money is not the biggest objection. It's normally their time. Right. But again, we've all had to evolve into those people, because most of us, myself, and maybe you guys as well, grew up with more of a fear of money, not the way we probably look at money these days. So again, it's that evolution of where we were, where we are, and where we're going. And, we can only just guide it the best we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask you this. What is next for you guys?
Yeah.
Was that part of the discussion earlier?
Take over the world, Steve. Take over the world. Just
take over the world.
I mean, I think at one time it was to take over the world, but no. And as we've grown and all that, we don't need the jets and the Lambos and all this. It's great that people have it, and it's not our dream anymore, or that anymore today. It's time, and it's time. Number one is we want to be as present as possible and being involved in our kids' life while they're under our roof. That's a big passion of ours. We want to give back and help support our staff and the people that have been helping us grow this along the way. So we're constantly mentoring and helping our team members today, and bettering their lives, developing them as leaders, developing them as their own retirement plans. And we support a lot of initiatives within our own organization. but I think, Joni and I have some, once the kids do leave, we plan to spend some time abroad, like, or at least like Mexico or somewhere. We plan to live a certain part of the time in other places and travel more. And that for her, that's what we would love to do more.
Yeah.
Once the kids are out of the house, but we can't do that obviously because they're going to school every day and involved.
They're hindering your traveling.
They are. And there's people that get around that and homeschool and all that.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not for us.
I was taught by one of my mentors. He said, Steve, a lot of people are misunderstood of success and successful businesses. And the way he explained to me, he said, most people believe that they're getting freedom. So he said, people leave a job because they want quote unquote freedom and they start their business, which is they get exactly the opposite of what they thought they were going to get. But he said, most people think they want freedom, but he said, if you actually have to take it a step further, he said, it's the memories that the freedom gives you, because you could sell all of your guys' stuff and go live down in Galveston in a van and you'll have all the freedom you want. You can do anything you want, but you may not like the memory that freedom gives you. So it's really the memories of helping your employees, of living how you want to live, living where you want to live. So I always think of, maybe it's dinner on the Mediterranean in Greece, right? It's sunset. Maybe it's, going to safari in Africa, but when you think about it, when all this is said and done, the only thing we can take with us is our memories. We really don't take anything else. I mean, we can't cash in on yesterday. Yesterday's gone. And so I think what you guys are doing is great for that. And I think it's a great, succession plan that you're having.
It's more about the impact. It's just the impact that we can leave an impact. And then we feel like what we're doing in our companies, we're helping people's retirement plans, with their rentals and providing investment properties for them. So we feel like we're really contributing to and impacting people's lives. And then so outside the client we serve, we're able to do that. And then we're doing it internally, in our organization. And then hopefully our kids, you've seen, I think on Facebook, we did a flip this past summer with the family. And so we're having an impact on them and hopefully, something that they can carry on and carry the torch. And
hopefully one day they will take it over. That's my hope, but
I mean, if they don't want to, they don't,
I mean, that'd be, I always think when I saw that, I thought that'd be great if you guys did some sort of like education class for teens on how to actually buy, renovate, like actually do a deal with teenagers or something like that. I want a percentage if you do, but just
yeah. Well, we do like in our organization, once a month we do I call it noon timers, because I know growing up in high school there was the noon timers that came and played basketball at noon. That's where I got so I'm thinking of noon timers, but a bunch of sweaty old guys. So that's us, but we're not sweaty anymore. I do an education. So it's noon timers within our organization. So anybody that wants to jump on, it's a Zoom call. And so that was our noon timers call for like 2 or 3 of them, was we analyzed that deal, like how I found it, how we found it, how I financed it, here's the budget. Nice. And then we, as we went through it, like, here's what I'm spending. And then once it was finished, anybody in Houston, obviously the people in Albuquerque and some of our remote team members couldn't go, but all the people in Houston, I bought lunch and we met for noon timers. We met at the property so they could see the finished product. They could see. It was cool to, and we've had people buy. Number one, we've helped support a lot of our team members with buying homes, but also investment properties, because that's what we want to do.
That's key also to, having a good team. Like they see that we're helping them in their success journey. A lot of them want to own real estate. So we'll help them buy a property. We'll even, go in 50-50 with them, partnership with them, and kind of guide them through the process. Right. And so they love that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. I have 2 final questions for you. 2 questions. All right. The first question is, when it's all said and done and you guys are retiring or sunsetting, what would you say you guys want to be most known for?
I would say impacting my staff. I just wrote a book, as you know, my first book, The Choice Is Yours, Balancing Success as a Wife, Mom, and Entrepreneur. And I just wanted women to know out there that, they also can be whoever they want to be, right? There's not a whole lot of women in my industry, and I would love to see more women, come out and be entrepreneurs.
Okay, cool. What about you, Shawn?
I think about the impact that I leave, about that I help better as many people's lives as possible. And so that I want to be known for somebody that contributed back, that, that educated, taught, supported in different areas. I know there's different charities that we get involved in and back, but that more than anything, that I bettered as many people's lives and helped them financially get ahead. So and somewhere along the way, I'd like to get more of an impact. Me, I'm not the like the alpha male, outgoing and all that. I'm more of the quiet, reserved one. But I want to make an impact of people that are quiet or reserved, maybe bullied as kids. That you can overcome a lot in life. And I think what drove me for years in business, you mentioned like a thermometer or even though I did well in sports and achieved, I had to overcome a lot as a kid growing up. And so business was one way that there was no limitations on what I could achieve.
Right.
So it drove me for years to prove to who nobody was watching except for Tony,
Prove to yourself.
but it proved that I could achieve things that maybe, I felt like I was, and probably a lot of insecurities there and all that, but it was a way to that's what drove me. And then there was a period that, hey, okay, I got to stop having that to be my driver, and I got to leave more of an impact, and how can I get back? And so then I switched, but I would like to help a lot more people that have that are insecure, don't think they're good enough or talented enough, or how they can achieve in life. So whether I do that through books or podcasts, I would like to leave a bigger impact. So.
Cool. Maybe speaking on stages.
Yeah, main stage.
All right.
I'll leave that to you and Joni. Yeah.
Okay. All right. My last question for each of you. If you could have, whether it's a coffee, beer, whiskey, wine, whatever, a drink with someone, dead, live, fake, real, whatever, who would that person be, and what would you talk to them about?
These are good questions.
I think for me, I think Warren Buffett is one on my list, and it's not so much. I would love to just learn how he thinks, like, not, aside from the books and everything, that's the TV appearances he does, but just understand like how he approaches life and makes decisions throughout his, just spend a couple of days with him and just see his interactions with people and how he processes something and makes certain decisions that he makes. So he'd be mine.
All right, Tony.
I really don't have one answer for you.
No, you've had enough time, Shawn. Shawn stalled long enough. Anybody, superhero, presidents, doesn't matter.
I would say, I don't know, somebody hard ass, right? To like get me, like push me to my limits. And that would probably be like,
you're not doing that enough.
Yeah, no, yeah, I like to be pushed. So maybe Ed Milet or something.
Okay.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right. Cool. What would you ask him?
What would I ask you? How can I max out my life?
Oh, okay. Very well. Very
Who's yours? Just kidding.
You know what? I've had different people that I've thought of over the years. I would have liked to have talked to Albert Einstein, and just like you said, Shawn, I'd like to see just kind of how he thought and his thought process, how he solved problems and issues. And the other person is Walt Disney, because he just had such an amazing vision that has carried on. How did he create a vision of such mass proportion to be able to carry that forward? Yeah, and then another one is Tom Petty, because I never got to see him in concert. So before he passed away.
Wow, we asked for one, not three.
I know. You turned the tables on me. I had to top it.
Yeah. What's your next?
My next is keep doing these podcasts with amazing people like you guys. Number one. Number two, keep being, trying to educate and influence as many people as I can. I'm a big believer that life is like a book, and books are made up of chapters, and chapters begin and chapters end. And I think this is a chapter in my life. Not sure how long it'll last. It could last a year, could last 20 years. I don't know. But I'm going to, do it until I feel that I've given enough back to people that have helped me, and try to help as many people as possible, and just keep trying to educate. I think the second half of my life is really being more of an educator and trying to help as many people as possible, and really try to get people that struggle with the day-to-day challenges of business life themselves, try to help and give them another angle to be successful.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think one thing that we didn't put in there was selling a business. And I don't, I think at some point, we're going to have to, that's going to be a reality that we're going to enter that chapter. That's something you've done that we need to learn from. And we're not ready to exit, but at some point, unless our kids take it all over, but would you do it all over again the way you did it?
I would. Yeah. I was very happy with the outcome and what I did, parlaying what again, to me, that was a chapter in my life. And I think a lot of times people feel that a chapter has to be bad to end. Yeah. And I think a chapter could be, you could leave a chapter on a high and close it and move forward. And we were doing very well and had a successful business, and we left it on a high. And I don't think there's anything wrong with leaving on a high. I think a lot of people go, well, like, you guys were doing so good. I'm like, it was just time. To me personally, as a person, it was time for me to move on to do other things. And I'm glad that the opportunity presented itself and that we took action and did it, because it's made me much happier in life. And not that I was unhappy. And Pete, my partner, my business partner, we're still good friends to this day, and we hang out and talk, and he's off to other things. And, I think that sometimes that stress and tension, it definitely grows you as a person. But at some point, I think if you get comfortable, you're not growing. And I think he and I were both we're getting comfortable in a groove, which I don't necessarily think is a good thing. I think people get lazy and they get complacent, and that's when things start falling apart, I guess, if you will. So to me, it was the right time. Pete may not agree 100%, but if he builds another business, which he's doing, and he's successful at it, whatever he does, he may think differently. But for me, it was definitely a personal decision that I'm very happy with.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I feel like you're interviewing me now.
I know.
The tables.
Well, last thing I will say is that we've made some amazing connections. And when that time comes, when we do decide, we will be able to come to you, because I think that that's part of the journey, is the connections that we make along the road, right? Along the way.
Yeah. I think Joni anymore today contributes a lot of those business opportunities that arose were because of connections that we had, and I think when you're starting off, you're not going to have all those connections, but if you network and add value to other people, it's amazing what kind of connections. And so, we're going to lean on you when that time comes to, what did you do wrong? What would you have done right? And
one thing I've learned is the value, especially since selling the company, the value of social currency. And you and your name and who you are and what you represent and how you're viewed is, it's better than, it could be bigger than anything you ever do. And, people who are, out there, communicators are the wealthiest people on the planet. They're wealthy in many ways, not just financially, but also fulfilled and happy. And, I'm sure that it goes extremes, I'm sure 100%, but if you have a skill set, and one thing that I learned from some of my mentors, they said, if you have a skill set that you can help people at, so we're talking, for example, coaching, Shawn, you doing your noon timers, and Joni writing the book. If you have a skill set, and this is what I was taught, and you have the ability to help someone's life, and you can change their life, and it may be a small way, maybe a huge way. He said, it's your duty and obligation to move forward with doing that. He said, whether you're remunerated $1 or $1 million is irrelevant. That's the value people would place on it. But he said, and a lot of people, I'll give you an example. A lot of people say, like, I don't like salespeople, right? I don't like people that are salesy. And that may be the case until they ask someone for help to get their children off of drugs. because they're hooked on heroin. Then you would love someone to sell your son or child to get off drugs. Then a salesperson would be the best person in the world. So it's all perception, and that social currency. It really made me look at things differently when you look at it as I'm coming from a position of abundance and I'm coming to help people, which is what, you guys believe in, and I believe in as well. I think you'll see that will be the next chapter of your lives.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, look, I really, I can't thank you guys enough. Joni, if you guys want to tell them how to find you and the company. I know you got about 15 minutes of credits that you've got to give to people. And also your book, you can give your book name, Joni, and as well as you guys have a podcast show you can promote as well.
Yeah, so I guess the easiest way would be the podcast, Inside the Wolf's Den, where you'll be able to connect with us on all the different businesses, whether it's property management in Houston, Albuquerque, True Work Logistics, which is our VA company. So check out Inside the Wolf's Den, and it's also on my Instagram is Joni M. Wolfswinkel, and Facebook as well, Joni Wolfswinkel.
Yeah, so I'm on all those as well. I think it's Shawn the Wolf. So obviously we're obsessed with wolves. So, but
it comes with the name.
Yeah, but Instagram, so Facebook, but the podcast and the website for the podcast, InsideTheWolfsDen.com, has all of our links to all of our social accounts and all our company websites.
And you guys congratulations, by the way, you guys just passed up 100
yes
episodes, right?
Yes, we just celebrated last week?
We did. We missed one episode, Steve.
Wow.
In 2 years. And it was because him and I weren't seeing eye to eye one day. And Brett was like, hey, we're cutting this. We're not filming this today.
I couldn't even look at her. I was so pissed at her. I couldn't even look at her. So I was like this the whole time talking. Like, it didn't come out good, so he cut it. And so that was the only week we missed.
That would be a good blooper reel.
I'm just being honest.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching today. Good friends, Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkel, their podcast shows Inside the Wolf's Den. Definitely check it out. It's on all the major channels, and definitely worth watching and listening to. For those of you, as you know, every week I bring on just superstar guests in the business world. High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg. You can find it on all the channels and all the selected social media channels. So on behalf of myself and Shawn and Joni, I want to thank you all for watching today, and we will catch you next week on High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg. See you then. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you.